Fine wine, luxury portfolio, high image wines, whatever you call it, I'm sure you want to sell more of it. Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Ben Salisbury. Our consulting agency works with wineries and craft distilleries to help them improve their sales process and their sales strategy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share it with someone that could use this information, and by all means, don't forget to subscribe. Today I want to talk about 6 keys to selling fine wine. Now, are there more than 6 perhaps? These are the 6 that come to my mind first and foremost. I would love to hear your comments too, but there's no question when it comes to selling higher image wines, you've got to be strategic, you got to plan ahead. So I hope these 6 keys will help you. So point number 1, stay out of the chains. I know this is very tempting to go after this business, and I have nothing against the chains. There's a tremendous amount of volume to be had there, and there are plenty of chains that sell very high image wines, very luxury wines. The problem is, if you go that route, once you get into distribution of 1 or 2 of these chains, you immediately alienate many of the independent restaurants, if not all of them, and all of the independent retailers. It's very hard for restaurants and independent retailers to compete with the chains. And here's the thing, if you're a restaurant buyer or independent wine shop buyer, all you have to do is go to winesearcher.com, put in the name of your brand, and they can immediately see who else is selling it. And what's worse, they can see what price they're selling it for. So you just alienated one of the most important markets. But yet I see people do this all the time. They sell the vast majority because, wine is, you've got to have cash flow. I get that. But if you really want to be in this business long term and you have a fine wine portfolio, you need to keep those particular brands out of the chains. And there's a lot of wine companies, some of the big ones, that have both a large commercial portfolio and then a part of their portfolio that's designated more toward the higher end, the higher image end of the business. And you have companies that just sell fine wine. But in both cases, if you want to be successful with the fine wine end of your portfolio, you got to have the discipline to stay out of the chains. Point number 2, don't rely too heavily on distributors. Now, I say this a lot, and I've written about it a lot, and people, kind of take me out of context. I'm not saying don't use distributors. I'm not saying distributors aren't important. Of course they're important. They're essential. I'm saying don't rely too heavily on them. And when you're selling fine wine, you're selling luxury wines, it's a lot of pick and shovel work. It's a lot of detail work. It's a 6-pack here, a case there, to a lot of different restaurants. And so to expect distributors to do that kind of pick and shovel work is just not realistic. It used to be, but in the last 6-7 years, something crazy has happened, and that is that the number of distributors in the US has shrunk dramatically, and the number of wine brands on the market has blown up tremendously, creating this incredible bottleneck. So if you want to be successful with your fine wine, you can't rely too heavily on that. So what do you do instead? You're going to have to go and build most of this distribution, which is a good segue to point number 3. Put the right wines in the right places. For your long-term success, this is essential. I spent many years working for St. Michel Wine Estates. We represented the Antinori portfolio, and I learned many things from Pierre Antinori. One of the things I learned is he used to say he didn't want his finest wines, he didn't want those wines to elevate the restaurant. He wanted the restaurant to elevate his wine. So one of the wines he produced was Tignanello, one of the most sought after wines in the world. He didn't want a mom and pop red sauce palace spaghetti joint around the corner putting Tignanello on their wine list and saying, look at me, I have Tignanello. that wasn't really accretive to his brand image. But if his wine was on the list at Per Se in New York, well, now that was something altogether different. So that same concept is very valuable. Put the right wine in the right places, which means you're going to have to plan it out. You're going to have to do some research. Where are the highest image restaurants? And where are the highest image restaurants that are busy, that do private dining, that have brunch, outdoor seating, places that can have the potential to go through a case or two of your wine in the course of a month. And some of these places serve very expensive wines by the glass. It's not uncommon at all for people to use wine preservation systems like Corvin and Repour, etc., and have a $50 glass of Burgundy. So, but you're going to have to research and find those places, put them on your target list, and then go after those accounts specifically. Same thing with the off-premise. You know, one of the most attractive accounts to go after in the independent off-premise are those accounts that have a very robust business in e-commerce, meaning they sell more wine off their website than they do in their brick and mortar store. And think about this. It's like having a virtually unlimited inventory. They don't really have to physically carry the product to sell it online. So a fine wine buyer comes to the website, they see your brand, they place an order. That retailer turns around, orders a six-pack or a case from the distributor, and no one is the wiser that it wasn't in stock. So putting the right wines in the right places is key to selling fine wine, but you're going to have to do your homework and do some research. Point number 4, beware of blitzes and distribution incentives. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get some hate mail for this. Our industry has been relying on these two tactics for decades. Blitzes, also known as crew drives. You know, you get everybody together, you focus on an item, you pull a bunch of samples, you spend some money on lunches and dinners, everybody gets together, rah, rah, look how many new points of distribution we got. Same thing with distribution incentives. You cleverly put together this incentive that you get, the salespeople get so much money for every new point of distribution, minimum 6 bottles, minimum 3 bottles. It doesn't matter. Here's the problem with both of these. Those placements don't stick. Rarely do they stick. In fact, the entire industry is built on this churning of that type of activity. You spent a lot of money and time bringing people in. You did a big blitz. Guess what? There's another one next week and another one the week after that. These retailers and restaurants, they're used to the hamster wheel of products in, products out. Who benefits here? I'll tell you who benefits: the distributor sales reps, because they're making, they're cashing in on the incentives. But who doesn't benefit is the brand owner, the wine brand owner, and that's you. You've got to wake up and realize that while these things used to be effective when there was a more balanced ratio of distributors to wine brands, there isn't anymore. And it's expensive, time-consuming, and generally a waste because these placements don't stick. Don't take my word for it. Go check out how many of the placements you gained in your last blitz actually stuck. Make a list of the new distribution you got from your last distributor incentive. Go look how 90 days later most of it's gone. The percentage of restaurants that buy one time of your product and never again, it should never be higher than 10 or 15%. You're always going to have some of that. But 50%, 70% of the distribution is fleeting. That's a big problem. And I could go on and on this issue, but if you're selling a fine wine portfolio and you want to be successful long-term, you must avoid blitzes and distribution incentives. Got myself all worked up there. Point number 5, avoid wine knowledge overkill. This is going to be another one where I'm bound to attract some people who disagree. There is nothing wrong with fine wine knowledge and accumulating certifications. I'm very, my hat's off to people who can do that. It's very impressive. But unfortunately, in today's competitive environment, it's easy to overdo it, to assume that because I have this certification and that certification, and I can pick this out of a blind tasting, and I have a very gifted palate, that's great. But there's a danger of thinking that is somehow going to differentiate your ability to sell, because there's hundreds of people who have the same skills, and certainly all the buyers do. So it's important, but it's not enough. Where I'm going with point number 5 here in avoiding wine knowledge overkill is you got to balance this with some solid business acumen. You need to really understand the businesses that you're selling to, fine wine shops, high image restaurants. You really need to understand what motivates them, what their concerns are, what keeps them up at night. Things like the amount of money they have tied up in inventory, how much they turn the inventory, how they go about attracting customers of their own. You know, when it comes to restaurants, it's pretty straightforward. There's three things that every restaurant wants. They want to grow their revenue, optimize their revenue. They want to control their costs. It isn't always about lowering the costs, it's about controlling them. And the third thing is improve guest satisfaction. How is your wine going to help them achieve one or more of those things? You need to be able to talk about that in the presentation. Here's an example. You know, let's say Spanish varietals are enjoying a season of, you know, popularity. You might have a conversation with the restaurant. How's that going for them? Are they leveraging that trend? Are they finding their customers like those style of wines? Get in a conversation about what's working and what's not working for the account. Don't just go straight to the sample bag and start talking about your product. This product-based selling, this features and benefits selling, you know, is really kind of dead and outdated. If you want to be successful selling fine wine, go ahead and accumulate lots of wine knowledge, but you balance it with some solid business acumen. Make sure your pricing doesn't get jerked around. Make sure it gets shipped at the price you quoted. Make sure you don't run out of stock. You know, some of the most basic service-oriented things are equally important, if not more important, than your wine knowledge. Because I got news for you. There are plenty of great wines in the market to choose from. Your wine is not so distinct that you're going to win people over with your wine knowledge and your product attributes alone. So avoid wine knowledge overkill. And lastly, point number 6, fully leverage social media and email marketing. If you're in the fine wine game today, you must leverage these tools. They're some of the lowest cost, most effective, highest return on investment tools that you can use. Let's talk about social media first. You should, if you're a salesperson, you should have a social media presence. You should be following all of your, all the customers on your target list that we talked about back in point number 3. You should be following them, engaging them, studying them, learning about what's important to them through the use of social media. For those of you that say, well, I'd like to keep my personal life separate from my business life. I don't have time to be on Facebook. Man, I just call BS on that. This, last I looked at the calendar, it's 2019. You're going to have a social media presence if you want to sell business to business, your winery to that restaurant, your winery to that fine wine shop. You better be paying a lot of time on, you better be spending a lot of time on Facebook and Instagram, studying, learning, watching trends. I just don't buy that for a minute. So if you're one of those people who's lagging, this is an easy one to fix, well within your control. And what about email marketing? It's great that you have a little black book of all the right buyers in your market, all the people on your wish list that you want to sell to. But if you're not using a tool like MailChimp or Constant Contact, and you don't have all those buyers loaded into it, and you haven't segmented them along the lines of these are the people who are, you know, real old world, they love old world wine. These are the people who love to see new things first. They like to be the first to know about things. You should be segmenting all of your customers and then communicating with them in a way that they want to be communicated with. Now, this is a whole other topic too, how to use email marketing to sell fine wine and be very, very effective at it. But if you're not leveraging it now, take the first step, which is to study more about how people use these tools in a B2B context. So a lot to accomplish there and talk about when it comes to point number 6, fully leveraging social media and email marketing. So wherever you are today, stop and take stock of where you are and see what it looks like to go to that next level. So that's it. I hope these 6 keys were helpful to you. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. By all means, share it with someone in your world who you think could benefit from this information. I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Maybe you agree, disagree. Maybe there's a point number 7 or 8 that you would have liked to see me include. And maybe you have an idea for other topics you'd like me to expand upon. So thanks for giving me some time today to watch this video. We'll talk to you soon.